that pays tenderpreneurs and creditors, foreign creditors, before it thinks about Kenyans. They're waiting for you to sleep so that they can change the police personnel, transfer a few people, and have the same violence come back a year or a few months from now. So I think what we have to do is be diligent and think about what are the propositions, what are the ideas that we are organizing around, and make those ideas so strong and so powerful that it's not just one generation who will fight for them, but our father's generation, our mother's generation will also fight for them. And just for that message, just for that point, a few days ago I got a text from a former freedom fighter, and he reminded me that that was the reason that they went to the forests, to have a generation rise up and take back their country when they felt that they had lost their country. More power. More power. More power. The Gen Zs are not orphans. They have parents who protect them, who gave them money, who are so proud of them today. But let me just say that there are grandparents also that have seen what is capable of this generation and are now looking forward to that alpha generation to see what will come next. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. A better applause for the panel, Gloria and Irungu Houghton. Thank you very much. You've all done very well. Really appreciate your time and your thoughts. Allow me now to welcome for the transitional period before we get to the next panel, the President of the Commonwealth Lawyers Association, Dr. Peter Maynard, to take a minute or less to give us some reflections. A round of applause, please, for Dr. Maynard. You're next.
Yeah?
Okay. D'accord. I can use this. Hey, how are you? Sure. You can use the podium.
He wants you to make some remarks.
Okay.
Yeah. Just give it.
Okay. Asante Sana for the very warm welcome. I'm Peter Maynard. I'm president of the Commonwealth Lawyers Association, which is a group of 56 jurisdictions around the world, including Kenya. And I had intended to visit Kenya some time ago, and so I thought it would be appropriate to come now, also before the meeting of the Law Society of Kenya elections. No to police brutality. No to extrajudicial killings and abductions. Those are some of the fundamental principles of the Commonwealth Lawyers Association. Our objectives are simply to uphold human rights, the rule of law, access to justice, and the independence of judges and lawyers. And so I make just 2 points, that we have observed the situation with great concern, and in solidarity with the Law Society of Kenya, we have also issued a statement, a statement condemning the arrest, abduction, and killing of civilians. I wish to say that we are supportive of the Constitution and the rule of law. I encourage you all to continue to recognize the importance. You see, Kenya, from an outsider's perspective, Kenya has one of the most progressive constitutions in the world. But constitutions are just words. It's important for individuals, institutions, both government as well as protesters, to continue to recognize and implement the Constitution. My perspective is a little different in Kenya. I I am inspired by my late grandmother, who was born on a slave plantation. She was raised by her grandmother because her father had been killed by the colonial authorities, and also her mother had gone away to look for work. And so I have been raised in a den of human rights activists. We have recognized the importance for economic transformation and also political transformation. And so as a teenager, I came to Kenya for the first time because Kenya has been an inspiration to the Global South and continues to be an inspiration to the Global South. And I encourage you to continue that because economic transformation will come through you. And so we also are concerned with making the CLA, my organization, fit for purpose, and particularly fit for the purpose of transforming the Global South, fit for economic transformation, fit for political transformation. And so I commend the human rights activists among you. I commend the Law Society of Kenya and the judges. You've had the CG Emeritus, is a very admirable figure. The President incumbent is also very admirable. And so, at this challenging time, I encourage everyone to remember constitutionalism, to continue to give meaning to a very effective and powerful Constitution of Kenya, to continue to give effect to the rule of law. After all, we are after economic transformation, political transformation, in a setting of constructive dialogue, constructive engagement. Rule of law and governance are so very important. Understanding human rights and also human rights obligations. They're both sides, rights and obligations are so important. So with that, let me say thank you for having me here. I'm learning more and more from this very constructive session. And the Commonwealth Law Association continues to be in solidarity with the judges, with the lawyers, with human rights activists. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Maynard. Really appreciate it. Okay, all right. Let me welcome Cricket Rights to come give us the first interlude for the entertainment, then we go to the next panel. Cricket Rights, where you at?
So tutaunganisha stima, tutaunda barabara, tutajenga serikali na vijana ya bodaboda na mama mboga. So akaka slogan nikakasha goa goa. Mr. President ni Ruto, gani unatupeleka? Kusema education ni free na vile books ni expensive, ni ku-exercise our minds. Kusema education ni free, na jana kuna mtu yalisare shule juu alikosa uniform, ni ku-exercise our minds. So unafilaje? Unafilaje saa zenye urezo wako na kuongoza national anthem na tujenge taifa? Alafu Korogosho, Madhare, kwa jenga wanabomolewa. Gunshot na sauti za tinga kwa mwananchi amenyeshewa zinafanya hati zao even more weta. Alafu kuna sauti na ring kwa mind, mukinichagua hakuna kijana atapigwa risasi tena, mukinichagua hakuna mwananchi atabomolewa tena. Lakini Mkenya, soma story ya Jaramogi, utagundua Kenya bado hakuna. Wrong history kwa classes, ndio maana youths legacy ya msteka Steve wajui. Kazi tu ni biko. December 12 tuna celebrate Jamhuri Day, but story ya December 12 movement nani anainarrate? Mkenya, pambana. Time ina fly. Na Daily Nation ni propaganda za Orezo kwa flights kujaribu kuland jobs kwa youths. Nation ni sick. Hata doctors wako mgomo. Hakuna budget ya kulipa doctors but kuna budget ya unconstitutional CASs. Ata cost. The Star. News Bulletin. Mwakenya nilikeji kina Karemi wanatumia kupass exams za history yenye stories za kina Karari, Ndudhu zimepigwa njama na kuarrest kama role ya women kwa Maumau, Zakayo, Maleza, uende. So policies walitype alafu zikasainwa na ball pen na hapo ndio tulichezwa. Koti wakapiga perfume na expectaji wataheshimu court order. 21st century bado gava inatumia unga ku bribe nation kuvote. Mkulima wa kahawa na go loss after sales juu kutoa chai. So nani haoni Kenya taa? Bado hakuna. Nani hata articulate article 1 ya constitution vifiti? All sovereign power. The people ni set flani ya rulers wa protect wealth kwao. Sunday wamekrama apostles creed, alafu Monday greed ina drive na testimonies za vile 7 days without prayer inawafanya weak. Wewe hujasikia kiongozi wa Wanga alikuwa na bongo na bado alikuwa deceived na sweets. Mambo leo still ni ukoloni believe me, hata Mugabe angekuwa Kenyan hangetaka anyone amuite roba ama ni roba. So tunaishi na country whereby the president anapenda the youth but most strategic jobs anapea the old, na kwa hiyo mood still awari. Country yenye ina constitution kama ni leadership nachagua humanity kwa leader wangu. Juu kama leadership ni school degrees na certificates, basi hadi zile karatasi za Waititu zilikuwa true. Ni Fedi na Dali misinterpret. So pieces mob za peace wasanii wanaandika lakini bado hawana amani. Kiongozi mwananchi alichagua already anamfichia white. Already ana stock ya ngano ya kubandika posters time ya campaign na Turkana tunakufanja. Wanjiku hawezi afford kwa Rimona mkulima wa Roskoko na majani chai. Analia njaa toka time ya Nyayo. Afya center ni kama base fulani ya viongozi waendea snacks. Docs ni less, hospitals ni less na zenye ziko hazina madawa. Doka na complain of protective gears ndio anatekechea 4M la last time. Nurses wali strike ni jana. Si wages zinafanya mwalimu kuata kidato. Si wages zina donatives kwa evicted Kariobangi, Mokuru na Ruai. Onanyemoke Ruai ginya hakiri. So equality iko wapi time kuna mwenye nchi Karen na kona aneka ya parking na aneka smoking zone na parking large kuliko chuo fulani iko Korogosho, Dandora na Mathare. Equality iko wapi time kuna mwenye nchi Karen akona aneka ya parking na aneka smoking zone na parking large kuliko chuo fulani iko Korogosho, Mathare na Dandora. So tunataka police service ya police force. Utumishi kwa wote, si utumisi kwa kara wengine. Jukara wengine ni same na photographers kila time they've got a clear shot. Makara wengine ni kama kwa class walitoa sura viatu vile wamekuwa sharp shooters. Tulienda recruitment za makarao alafu tukaambiwa tuko na shida ya macho. Alafu after kutembea station tukapata afande amevaa miwani. So niambieni nani alifunga mwingine macho ama tulifungwa macho juu tulikosa za macho. So naitwa cricket rights. Naitwa Cricket Rights. Mnaweza ni follow at Cricket Rights kila platform pale YouTube. Tuzidi kusababisha, si ndio? Organize. Sasa comrades relax. Hawa wasanii nataka kuleta hapa next. Nimesikia ni wasanii wa smart kukuliko baba. So relax kidogo. Nimesikia ni wasanii wanaitwa wa Douglas wanakuja kuwa anguka nayo. Anguka nayo.
Tushaskia. Aha. Nakushaskia. Cheki. Nakushaskia kukiingia ni kubla. Uko kabado unachukua madam. So anguka na itabaki umeflow na vibe. Anguka na koko single for now. Mdagi mdaglis mteja patikani. Hadi late night saa 6 ndo taniwai. Nikupin location na nikofana na hii. Sukate call niko chomba ya G. Mimi najua utakuwa irizo ririz. Acha nikushow kwanza form ni adidon. Nishashika mpoa na twende chini kwa chini akiwa hadi na mini. Sasa unasikiza Shin City tuna feel free. Take a video no post pale NGC. Jina ni content kurap ni talent. Anguka nayo. Ati anguka nayo. Check it. Anguka nayo twende down low now. Stand up to your feet mikono juu alafu click. Tuliza pesa alafu one lege. Anguka nayo. One lege ati anguka nayo. Anguka nayo. Anguka nayo. Ati anguka nayo. Ati anguka nayo kama umefeel relaxed. Anguka nayo kama uko na new culture. Anguka nayo kama patina magwasha. Anguka nayo. Ati anguka nayo. Anguka nayo. Anguka nayo. Anguka nayo. Anguka nayo. Anguka tika msupa webanjuka. Cheza chini kikongeza maduda. Anguka nao baby girl shaitika. Dagi matisha wa daglis babe. Ama daglis tambu serikali. Juni serikali tamka asali. Mnajua ni nani? Flow shabiki. Ndomeduka hapo naoni shi. Kutekewa kwa daily meeting. Ati anguka nayo. Anguka nayo. Anguka nayo. Check it. Anguka nayo. Anguka nayo. Pull up DJ. Anguka nayo. Check it. Pull up tena. Selector DJ. Atu anguke nayo.
Thank you.
Shukran.
All right. Okay, all right. So let's get to our second panel. Quite some business to do. We should have DJ. So this is what we're going to do. I've been instructed. This is the instructions I've been given. When I call the panelists, wanakuja kianguka nayo. Comrades, true or true? True or true? Our first panelists for the afternoon. DJ with it. Ladies and gentlemen, Nayo. Help me welcome to the stage Nadia Mukami.
Anguka now, check it. Anguka now, turn it down low now. Stand up to your feet.
Thank you very much. Our second panelist, kuanguka nayo, Maria Mbeneka. Nayo. Ladies and gentlemen, Nayo, Steve Mbogwa, LSK Council member, Nayo.
Anguka now.
Ladies and gentlemen, Nayo, Boniface Mwangi.
Anguka now. Anguka now, check it. Anguka now, turn it down low.
All right, and okay, so we'll get to the more panelists as we go. We have one more seat to add to the Reverend, who's going to join us in the second half. But all right, let's start the discussions. Here's what we need to do, friends. This moment has demanded something, right? It's demanded that we find a reflection and a point of view on how we understand what needs to happen next. Let me start with you, Maria Meneka, of how should we have a reflection on what should happen next? What are those actual steps? Given what you've seen, how do we move it forward?
Thank you, James. Okay. So I think for us to...
I don't know the electric seat.
I think, okay, so mnanisikia? Volume, okay, I think that's good now. First and foremost, my knees are appreciative of Gen Z. Hiyo kazi si rahisi, kuanguka nayo. And I'm just glad to be alive to witness this again. And it's reminded me of why I became a lawyer in the first place. In the 90s, when I was in high school, I got my first copy of the Constitution from Maina Kiai. And I witnessed all these people getting tear gassed, getting locked up, trying to run away from the cops, Reverend Joya getting beaten up. And I asked myself, what would prompt people to be beaten and still go back? And it's the love of this country, and the Gen Z are a very significant part of Kenya's history, because we're not just, we are rebuilding this country based on this constitution that we gave ourselves. And so it's very important for us to be vigilant going forward, because the fact of the matter is that this movement is based on the rule of law. And I've seen that from the tweets, from the protests. Everybody was careful who was involved in the Gen Z protest to abide by the rule of law. And so it follows that the next steps are also guided and informed by the rule of law. The president has sent home his cabinet. And I'm very, very proud of that singular step of sending everybody home, especially the fact that the Minister for Interior was a lawyer and presided over the abductions, the killing, disappearance, and abuse of human rights. And he had the opportunity to actually cement Article 37 of our Constitution and abide by it, but the opportunity was lost on him. So the opportunity for you and for us all as Kenyans is to ensure that the weakest link, which has been Parliament, needs to be in check. Because remember, when the vetting of the new cabinet secretaries happens, it's going to be happening at Parliament. So who is going to sit, who is going to sift, who is going to analyze? Of course, there will be much more involvement by the citizenry, because it's obvious we've taken back our power, and people will be able to say, this is who we want. We want individuals who have been subjected to the provisions of Chapter 6 of the Constitution. That is non-negotiable. And going forward, vetting should not be just a by the way, because it's a foregone conclusion. It's just been like I'm looking for the words, but you know what I'm saying. That it's just been, we're majority in Parliament, we're going to pass these names, we're just rubber stamping, we're not looking at the qualification of these people, so that's important going forward, that's what's going to happen. Secondly, what does Kenya look like now going forward? There's a recall of MPs still on the table. I know Kabete constituency have started a process. There's nothing that's stopping the citizenry from collecting signatures even as we speak. So those are processes that should actually be going forward. And the fact that people have shown interest in the finance bill, there should be bigger interest on the appropriations bill, which is now an act. Nothing stops the PSs who are still in office, who are accounting officers, from committing the budget. Absolutely nothing. So there's still a lot to be done. Eternal vigilance is the price of democracy. We cannot get tired. I must say here that I'm very, very proud of the work that Faith Odhiambo, the Law Society of Kenya, council members are doing. And civic education is important. So beyond saying that something will be done, let's be involved in how it will be done.
Right, and I want to move that along on the how. But Nadia, for you, what do you want to see happen next?
What do I want?
What do you want to see happen next?
We've kept talking about accountable governance for a very, very, very long time. And I will use my example. When we were getting into this industry, I mean the music industry, when you have a name, you have status, you weren't able to publicly call out a vice, call out, let's say, a leader for something they haven't done. For the first time in history, you've seen artists, you've seen influencers in the front line. Because sometimes when we sign contracts, sometimes you're told you shouldn't associate yourself with anything that is happening in the country. But for the first time, even as one of the things that I base off my career, I never want to talk about politics. But for the first time, I remember hiyo siku ya maandamano ya kwanza, nilikuwa huko, nimeangushwa, niko na hadi alama up to date. So for me, it's about accountable governance. And someone said from the X space, we need to make it so unbearable for anyone who's getting into any public office to hold the office space if you do not like accountability. So anyone that is getting into office has to be ready to be questioned, to be asked, because we are the bosses. So si eti kila siku tumekopa sijui how many billions every single day, or we are being taxed, taxes. The other day I was checking bei ya tissue paper. The last time, nikikuwa Mwehoko, I'm from Mwehoko, it was 15 shillings. Sai tissue paper, hakuna tissue paper hata ya 20 shillings. The cost of living inaendelea ikipanda as a day goes by. So, kwa nini tunakuwa, vitu zinakuwa expensive, but the salary ni the same? You understand? Kama wewe ulikuwa unauza, nitasema aje. Kama tuseme ulikuwa uko na biashara yako, the moment you start raising your prices because what you're purchasing with imepanda bei, the supplier price imepanda bei. So wewe ukiongezea customers wako, inakuwa ni ngumu for them to come back. You understand? So for me, it's about accountable governance. Let us hold every single person accountable. Yes.
All right. Accountable. Steve.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Is one thing I can say, Alan, what is happening now is what our fathers began in so many years ago. And along the way, they lost the momentum. And I think that is how we found ourselves, because the war to bring in a new constitution is a struggle that has been there for a long time. And the day the constitution was being promulgated on 10th of August 2010, the whole Africa, the whole world praised Kenya for a very progressive constitution. Everybody knew that now Kenya is politically, economically, and socially liberated. The president of Kenya, Dr. Samuel Ruto, when he was campaigning on the mantra of socio-economic justice. Article 43 of the Constitution was his anchor. When he was speaking to the youth about job employment, when he was speaking to the Mamamboga about improving their livelihood, when he was speaking to the Boda Boda rider, who is a youth, about empowerment, he was addressing Article 43. Then what have we noticed? No one is bothered about adherence to the rule of law. What they are doing is to pull things toward themselves. What do I expect to see? scrapping off of the NGCDF, we need to do away with that unconstitutional fund, which has turned our parliamentarians to become executive puppets. Doing away with bursaries and pumping the money to the education sector. Everybody to have an equal right, because they use these goodies to buy us off, to buy our parents off. So we want to ensure that they stop assuming that we have to go and knock their doors and queue at the CDF offices, begging to get money to go to school, yet Article 43 talk about my right to education. So these are the expectations we want to see. So as it sends away the cabinet, we want to see very serious reforms, and that's why this call for serious reform is not ending, and we are not stopping, because we are coming for the throats of these parliamentarians metaphorically, because look at what happens at the Senate. They dropped the bill for the conflict of interest. Why? Because they want to continue tendering for the government. Some years back, nobody wanted to supply to the government because nobody used to be paid. Right now, they are running that cartel. That is what we want to stop. That is the Kenya we want, where everyone has an equal chance. Everyone, when you're arrested, you have a right to representation. Police respect the rule of law. Everybody respect the rule of law, because that is the equalizer for everyone, because the rule of law is better than the rule of man.
Thank you, thank you. Reverend, Goy, the same question. Can you help us figure out from where you sit, what should be these actual next steps? What would you like to see? What should we all sort of collectively try to figure out and say, this is what we think should happen?
Hi, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Yes, sir. Sorry, I wasn't introduced. My name is Gowi Odera. There are a couple of things we need to be able to recognize, James, what we're up against in this movement. One is that the president, as real colors have come out, even in his campaign, we need to recognize that a leopard does not change its spots. In the early 90s, when we were doing our clamor, we were here in Ufungamano, he wasn't here. He was part of YK2. And they were the part of our generation that were co-opted by Moi with money. When we were doing the constitution and clamor for constitution, he voted no. In fact, he said that ni kama karatasi ya kufunga nyama. So constitutionalism is not part and parcel of those who are in office. So that is what we are up against. The second thing what we're up against is a culture, all right? A culture that does not necessarily value hard work and a meritocracy in itself. So Gen Z are trying to say, we are putting in all this effort to get what we want. Now we are seeing people wakivuka line and getting there without even earning what they are. And lastly, I think a thing that we have, and the panelists have said, is accountability. And I think those are the three things we need to continue championing moving forward. What Gen Z, I'd like to be able to encourage this group of young people, this generation of young people, is recognize that this is actually a marathon. This is not a sprint. And so there are certain gains we need to make. And I think there's somewhere we need to celebrate what we have gained these past 3 weeks. And we need to celebrate that. In as much as some of our comrades have fallen, we need to celebrate this. This is a great thing, that a government can withdraw a finance bill is a big accomplishment that I'd like to celebrate what these young people have done. It is something I am proud of you. We are proud of you. And you've done something my own generation was not courageous as you to do. And you have taken this to another level.
So just to your point, as I come back to this, there's two problems here that we have to contend with. There is the question of dialogue that keeps being bandied about. I want you to speak about this question of dialogue. And then at the tail end of this process, it's a political process. So there has to be a reasoning on how the public engages politically, because those changes have to happen in a political construct where the politicians have the experience more than anyone else.
So the issue of dialogue is who is dialoguing. So the referee cannot be the player. James, the referee can't be the player. And so you don't have the credibility. Now, the institution that I am part of, the church, has lost its credibility too. Yeah. When we were supposed to be doing what we are supposed to be doing, we were sitting in State House. So we've lost the credibility too. So there needs to be another umpire, another person doing this. We can learn from others. We're not the first ones to do this. So there are other actors that can come and do it. And secondly, James, it can't be a political process alone. Yes, we understand there are political processes that have to be happen, but there's also a place where we need to talk about the economics of this dialogue. We also need to talk about, and very big is just the philosophy of how we do it. So we cannot give it to the politicians. We left the politicians to do the final putting together of our constitution. And look what they gave us. So we can't trust the politicians. We can't. And I tell you guys, don't trust the politicians. We can't leave it alone to them. In as much as they are players, it has to be a collaborative effort.
Right. The question of how not leaving this to politicians then become an important question. There's hyper, right now, engagement. Every citizen is engaged with every document that comes from State House, that comes from, government. But that, in all honesty, is one thing that keeps them accountable. But at some point, as they say, people will be like, I have things to do, as Nadia says. I need to go sell my tomatoes. I can't be every day on a space for 8 hours, right? That is my job. So walk me through this question of what part of engagement should we be talking about and accountability, and how does that look like, so that we keep this process alive, to make sure that we all don't lose our time, and also don't get fatigued with the process?
I think one thing we need to appreciate, there was Goldenberg some time back. Let me start there. A report was prepared. People had a lot of discussions. We saw a lot of parading of people. Then that dwindled. We saw Anglo-Rising came. People ate public money. They could not be held accountable. Then that disappeared. People like, there was a Ndongo report on land justice. Nothing came out of it. The Commission on Justice and Reconciliation, there was a report about that. Nothing ever done about it. Until people are now tired. And what we are saying is, we want to see full implementation. And because we know some of these people cannot be able to do that for the obvious reasons that they don't believe in the Constitution itself. And it's very unfortunate, even the church took a position of fighting the Constitution, a very dangerous route in 2010. We need to, those who cannot do their job, they step aside and they allow those who can do the job to take over and steer this country in full implementation of our Constitution. Because some of these things, they don't need to remind the president that every child needs education. When the government was being formed in 1963, there were three things: poverty, diseases, and ignorance. Our education system still affordable, and the people are able to go to school? No. Do our hospitals still providing medicines? You find 8 counties are lacking medicine for BCG, for tuberculosis vaccination to children. We are exposing them, and someone has money where he can walk into a fundraiser and give the same money to the church. I always wonder what this project in the church that never end, and we attend the same churches. And so you go to that issue, the issue of poverty, ignorance, and the other one is, I don't know. The education, we have ignorance, we have diseases, and we have poverty. How many Kenyans are living below $1 a day income? Most Kenyans are, that's why they are online. That's why you find them on login the whole day, because what else will I be doing? Moving around myself. Before I got an internship as an advocate, I remember I dropped 36 CVs in the city of Nairobi. And all the advocates will tell you, we'll pick you, but we can't be able to sustain you. Advocates are struggling. Doctors, we saw them, they are struggling. Those careers that all parents wished their children to become, you can imagine they are struggling. So what happens to the other Kenyan? it shows you that we need to get serious. We have talked about progressive realization of the socioeconomic rights. Have we seen the government put in place steps that are geared towards realizing this? Deliberate steps. So that we don't just talk about progressive realization. Progressive realization has a cutout that, are you putting up measures? We talked about two-third gender role. Up to date, they have not done anything. Justice Maraga reminded us before he left the office about that issue. No one has taken action about it. So what we need is not dialogue, it is action. I think that is what the leadership need to know, that we have talked too much. We need to see, I don't need to remind the member of parliament that I am telling you I don't want an extra tax. I want you to be accountable about that. I don't remind the member of parliament that I am paying you a salary of almost 1 million shillings, then I pay you allowance to attend your plenary. Who pays us to attend plenary? And you have a salary. Who pays you to attend a committee of the job you are employed to do by the people? What makes them so scared that once they get elected, they need 10 bodyguards? What are they doing wrong? They know it. And that's what we want them to address.
Okay. Nadia, you raised an important question the last time about the role of creative, and and we've seen what the creatives have been able to do for this movement in this time, using your own talents to push the conversation forward, musicians, comedians, and the rest. But also, there was a question about the corporate world that would stop you doing these things before. There was a reason for that, because the corporate world and the government work, hand by hand. What happens when that comes back? When you're told by the person who's gives you the contract that I continue seeing you doing this Gen Z thing, I can't keep on supporting. What happens?
For me, I'd say any sane person that has seen how this revolution started. I remember the first thing was hisi time ya kupost. For instance, I work with StanChat right now, and I really appreciate them because we didn't have to tell them. They saw and they were like, you guys, you can do whatever you want to do. You understand? So for me, it's about, if you're a sane person, you can see that the pressure and the force is something that you cannot run away from. It will catch up with you. So I think we've had, corporates that have been really understanding and supportive, and we haven't been blacklisted yet. We haven't been sent that you're out of work email. So they have understood. And today, I just want to talk about the power of social media as well. Huwa wanasema msanii ni kioo cha jamii. Every time. Personally, when I started doing music, I was in Maseno University, and during the holidays, we'd go to Kenya National Theatre. And we had something, if there's any creative here, they know PAL, Poetry After Lunch. And what most people don't know, I started out as a poet. And I'd go there, if I do a small, maybe small poetry, I'd have other guys just listening to them. And what these people would talk about is the social injustices. It meant that the time wasn't then. It's a process, it's a journey. We had begun that journey of going to Poetry After Lunch. You're listening to people talk their truths. Talk about mimi nimetoka Kibera, these are the problems that I have seen. But now it has come a place whereby now we can retaliate that on social media. I can tweet and say, guys, MCSK needs to be held accountable. We can say, PRISC was given the license to collect on behalf of the other CMOs. Public participation, has it happened? We are the artists, we are the ones who are paying for these people. And that is another conversation that has been held for so long, ever since artists before me found a problem there. I have found a problem there. And I am not going to leave, because at the end of the day, there's a time going to reach I'm not able to dance on stage as I am dancing right now. So it is, as I said before, it's accountable governance. We have to hold each and every person accountable. Kila mtu. Now, to the ladies, maybe when you're wamechaguliwa, ama they have been given a position, wasiende wakatuaibisha. We've seen the likes of Karen Nyamu, more of a socialite rather than a leader. There are so many deserving women. I am sorry to say that. It's a stray bullet, but it's the truth. There are so many deserving women who are intellectual, who are smart. We don't need to know your personal life. What have you done for the girl child? For the longest time, women have fought. You're given a position, and all we can talk about is your personal life. She really needs to check herself. Yes.
All right. Thanks. Maria, if anyone engages with politics, and we look at this in this sense, that it would be foolhardy for anyone to think that the political class is going to walk away from this and surrender and say, okay, you guys have won, fantastic, we're out. Okay? That is not going to happen. They're going to rely on what they do best, which is politics. And I suspect this is what's going to happen in the next 2-3 years. From where you sit, with all these issues that we need to solve, and there are many, right? And they're serious. Parliament and constitutional, two-third gender rule not anywhere being affected. There are many things on the priority of this list we just don't know and don't have. Give us some advice. How should we look at these questions that we exercise our minds and say we should have priorities, bare minimums, and go forward? Because the political class will have that. And this is a long battle, as Reverend Goy has told us.
Yeah, so I think the first thing, we need to appreciate that the country has changed. It's not business as usual. So there's been a shift in the minds of Kenyans. Whether they're saying it or not, whether they're organizing or not, it's present. And we have to seize the moment. So where do our leaders come from? They come from within us. Today we'll sit here and say, hey, James unatosha mboga. Where tutakuchagua? But what happens? What follows after, hey, Mhesh? What do we say? Toboka. Kakitu kalanch. Mhesh. That's the problem. Our politics, our governance is transactional. And the minute I give you a 50 bob, a 100 bob, a 200 bob, I'm done with you until next time. So this shift has to be literal. Like, we can't just talk about it. We have to live it. We have to talk it. We have to walk it. The fact of the matter is, politicians are smart. Even the ones we say are uneducated are street smart. So they will just look at what is trending and jump on it. And if we've decided that going forward, we're serious about our governance, we're serious about who gets into office, how the hell does somebody get elected while they're in jail? How do you get elected after shooting somebody dead? And DCI put out a notice that they're looking for you, and you get elected. So what Nadia, what Mike Mushiri, what other artists and individuals and human rights activists have been doing needs to be amplified. Take civic education very literally, because there are people who think that there's an MP, I think he's called Kamala, in Western. He was telling his people that sasa mjue tunamaliza maneno ya CDF, sasa msikuje kwangu kuniomba. Because that's the way things are done. You come, you ask me for 300 bob, sawa, sawa. And he'll not perform, he will not build that road. I mean, nothing will get done. So we need to amplify the voice of civic education. I think that's very important. People need to understand why electing an MCA is very important, because that's a person who's closest to you in terms of resources that have been devolved to the county. Why a political party is not more superior to an individual who's representing you at the ground. It's important for us, and I think you've debunked this, that tribalism is no longer a factor. And as long as it remains a non-factor, we are ahead. So mtu wetu, that politics is gone. So if we keep at it, and if we keep agitating for the very things that we're actually talking about, governance, accountability, transparency, right from the elective positions. And I think this is an opportunity for young people. You can get elected without being on a party. Yeah? But remember, if our institutions, and this is a very critical point for me, James, if our institutions are not safeguarded, today our institutions are failing us because they are at the mercy of the executive. Why? Because the executive pays. They're the ones who provide a budget. So everybody who's in a position of leadership, a position of governance, a position of representation is swallowed by the system. And we talked about the system. When you get there, you're given, the first thing you're given as a chairman is an allowance, sitting allowance. The next thing, mkubwa unataka gari gani? And that thing gets to your head and you forget why you got there in the first place. So let's fight for our institutions. Let's get our institutions back. Let's make sure anybody who's nominated to serve on those institutions is a credible person and they can always pass the suitability test that is Chapter 6. Remember, in Kenya, we don't have an absence of laws. Steve Wanjiru talked about the conflict of interest bill that is currently in Senate. That bill, it's not that we don't have laws that could have jailed people for conflict of interest. Right. What we've had is deliberate missteps in the application of the law. So the unification of these laws is important. And that's why when you said that, what will we do going forward? Because people will get tired and they'll go back to doing what they need to do. Let us just hold people to account. Start by recalling. And I like that process that people are actually taking now. And let's keep whoever is in office accountable. Let's keep them on their toes. Let's get involved in the budget-making process. Do we know when the cycle starts? Because it's about to start again in September. Right. So that eternal vigilance. It's a lot to ask for the citizenry, but I think it's a price we are ready to pay, and it's been obvious from the reasons.
I want to get one comment from Sylvia, who's been waiting for like an hour. Sylvia, if you can have your minutes now, what is the thing that you want us to do next? Do we have Sylvia?
Yes, good afternoon.
Go ahead.
I'm speaking as a lay person that according to how things are right now, we understand that a government is formed by three arms. I think we have three arms of the government. But as things are now, it's like the parliament and the executive have merged. So we do not have oversight. The legislature, people like the MPs are supposed to represent the people who voted them to go there and do the legislation. But even if they do the legislation, is it favoring a common citizen? Everything they are doing is about them. So I was asking, I'm speaking as a lay person, so just pardon me, and if at all I'm wrong, just try to enlighten me more. As a lay person, under Article 1 of the Constitution, can I say clause number 2, which says that people can exercise their right, is it their right, directly, or can I say the leadership or something? Like we can exercise our power directly. Now, how do we do it legally? Because right now, the parliament is there, but it's like we are the ones who are doing the job. We are here on the streets. We are the ones providing oversight. We are the ones pushing for better legislation. So how do we go about it? Because all this mess is because whoever we put in power messed us up. This also has come about because of the micromanaging, the executive micromanaging the other two, trying to micromanage the other two arms of the government. How do we get ourselves into this?
Okay. All right. Thank you. I think just an important question, and maybe I'll start with you, Mary, then we'll go to Gary. This idea that you elect people to get to office and they decide that we know best, all right? In fact, you become very clever all of a sudden, and I know what you want. And I think we saw that on this finance bill, that MPs literally told everyone that you guys have no point whatsoever. We know best and we'll do what we want. How do we stop that from ever happening again? that a person who gets elected becomes truly a servant, not our lords?
I think it just goes back to the same thing of public participation, because what happens is that we have to accept that once we elect a leader, we are expecting that they will go and deliver on the mandate. So the issue of, did we elect a party or an individual? Because usually they wave. You know, you're told, this one got in kwa sababu ya wave. And the people were with the wave. So that's why the MPs, some of the MPs had the temerity to tell us, it's not you, it's the party. It's not you I'm accountable to, it's the party. So the first thing is, because you cannot recall an MP until they've been in office for 2 years, is just to keep a record of it, I guess. Because now, you know, constitutionally, you cannot recall before a certain period. But the fact of the matter is that the way we have seen participation being carried out with creation of ChatGPT, breaking down the information, that's the first thing. Breaking down the information, ensuring it reaches people. Petitions are online. It's easier now to find people, to bring people together. Before you had to be, you know, moneyed to do these things. Right. So it's much easier now.
Okay. Reverend Koi, how do we make our politicians actually work for us? How do we stop the arrogance, the kiburi that they have, that because I'm in office now, I do whatever I want?
The message has already been sent.
Yeah.
The message has already been sent. And what I'm very happy to see is now legislators now are being very penitent about what they're doing. That's one. But then the second one is just adding what she has just said in itself. There are ways we can just keep our legislators accountable. One is just, you know, there's a roll call in Parliament. So when you go in Parliament, you have to, you know, sign in. And so we need to be able to see, just the way when we're in school, you know, you sign a roll in itself. Were you present? And that information is available to any person in the public. We know one legislator now who has barely been in Parliament for 1.5 years or so, that is now out in the public space. And then thirdly, it's being able to get access to your member of Parliament and demanding access to your member of Parliament as often as you can. Like you have a constituency office. How often is this member of Parliament in their office? And so that is another place where you can go and demand to be able to see them. What are your office hours at the constituency office? That is where you can meet them at their local office. And if you are a big office, the government has given this MP or legislator the resources to cover the entire, like North Hall. That's a huge constituency. But there are different constituency sections where you can meet your legislator. So those are some of the things that come to mind.
Yeah. Steve?
Yes, I think, sorry. I was thinking, as I was talking, I was thinking about how we gauge our MPs' performances. And we diverted it to the duties and the responsibilities that are with the ministers, cabinet. Those are the parameters most of the time we gauge when we are voting for a member of parliament. Amejenga barabara ngapi? Ameweka mashule ngapi? Is that the job of a legislature? No. Because that has been the parameter for voting. So I think even as we move forward in this conversation, and as I address your concern, we need to do an inward reflection as a people and ask ourselves, are we expecting the wrong things from the right people? Are we voting you as a member of parliament? Then we expect you to build roads for us. Then we have a cabinet which has a ministry of road and a budget to do roads. So that is where we spend our money, wastage, and it becomes a point of a lot of wastages and privileges. And I think my feeling and my contribution to this conversation of the young people, and I want the whole Kenyans to embrace this, not as a Gen Z affair, but the spirit of the youth. Why the spirit of the youth? I want to say this quoting Henry Ford. There's something he said that the greatest thing you can do to yourself is to keep your mind young. Why do you need to keep your mind young? Because at your formative age is when you have a vision, is when you have ambitions. So once you become old and you allow the aged you to be complacent, you lose the vision. We got our constitution in 2010 with a lot of ambition. That was our youth at that time. We got our independence with a lot of ambition. Then what did we do? We became complacent. That's where these guys, when you visit them, they give you a handout. Before you even negotiate, you live with a bahasha. You see a priest has gone to State House, they're living with a brown bahasha. And you saw them walking in, they didn't have one. So I don't know, there's a Bible inside there. You create an office of intercessors, as in like, your prayer request. These are crazy things that we have been witnessing as a country, and it's high time we start holding our leaders accountable. Even the judiciary itself. The last time there was we find, with all due respect to the courts, we filed a petition challenging the deployment of the military. And I don't need to go to the details, but we all saw the live stream of that particular ruling. We all read the Constitution. I don't need to remind anyone the clause in the Constitution. And we can question the integrity of such a person when they are holding a public office. So we need to hold these people accountable. We need to have the right people doing the right job and not putting the wrong people. That's why I keep on saying, until and unless we push for the removal of CDF from the hands of parliamentarians, we are going to continue electing people because they are giving us money. That's why they buy the ticket, because I buy it. I have friends who contribute, give me campaign money. Why is it costing almost 50 million to join parliament? If I save the whole salary for parliament from day one to the last day, I can't raise 50 million. Even if you work with the simplest mathematics, because they have a lifestyle to maintain. So there's a lot of inward reflection that is needed, both to the people, to the president, to the leadership, at all levels and at all arms, and we need to hold them serious accountable.
All right, thank you very much, Reverend Goi Odera, nashukuru sana, Steve Bugwa, and Maria Minekap. You've all done very well, thank you for the panel. I leave Nadia to perform as we exit the stage. Thank you very much. You've all been very nice and very kind.
Wow. Thank you very much. It was a great pleasure.
Ngoja.
Thank you very much.
Ningewaomba tusimame. Let us stand up, please. You know, when I came here, I didn't come today to perform, by the way. I didn't come as a Kenyan artist, a celebrity. I came here as a concerned Kenyan. And first off, I want to send my condolences to the family